Hi, my name is Lorrie Green. This assignment looks at two evaluation approaches. Today we will be investigating cost studies evaluation approach and consumer-oriented studies. To prepare for this evaluation, identify program inputs such as the equipment, travel materials, and services. Also identify program outputs, results such as employment applications submitted and a number of graduate candidates. Finally, identify program outcomes, benefits such as the number of hires and the number of graduates entering college. The purpose of cost studies is to get a clear understanding of what resources were used, how they were used, the immediate effects, and the long-term effects. This type of evaluation is typically used to compare the cost of similar programs or the cost of an alternative to the program. Stakeholders like program planners, taxpayers, and policy boards would want to know whether a program is worth their investment. They may ask, how does the cost ratios of two programs compare? How productive is the program? In economic terms, what is the monetary value of the program outcomes? The methods for cost studies would include a cost effectiveness analysis in which a ratio between the cost of the program inputs and the measurable objectives is calculated. Another method would be a cost-benefit analysis in which a ratio between the cost of the program inputs and the effects and outcomes, whether it is a positive or negative, will be calculated. A cost-utility analysis involves calculating the ratio between the utility estimates and weighted objectives. Finally, return on investment determines whether the overall program benefits surpasses the cost of the program. Pioneers in cost studies have been Henry Levin and Patrick McEwen. Henry Levin has done extensive research pertaining to economics and education, such as school vouchers and privatization. He is recognized as bringing the cost analysis approach to the field of evaluation. Patrick McEwen has conducted research in the areas of economics and education. He has collaborated with Henry Lewin on several published projects. He has been instrumental when conducting cost studies. Gaining access to information about the cost of materials, services, equipment can be problematic. Oftentimes, many organizations don't keep accurate records of purchases, and some have purchase records in many different locations, which may involve interacting with different people or gatekeepers to gain access to records. It is suggested that an agreement be made with the top administrator prior to evaluation to authorize providing access to cost information. The strength of cost studies are considered a quasi-evaluation. It provides an immediate snapshot of a portion of a program. This information can be used formatively so that changes can be made during the program to increase positive outcomes. Cost studies provide To prepare for this evaluation, identify societal values such as cost effectiveness, functionality, equitable resources and access, and inclusion of all groups. Identify consumers' desires such as the program's practical significance and long-term significance. Identify acceptable criteria or standards and program costs. Finally, identify expenses such as materials, services, and equipment. The purpose of consumer-oriented evaluation is to evaluate the merit, worth, and significance of a program, competing programs, and alternative programs for stakeholders. Also, a consumer-oriented evaluation allows stakeholders to make wise decisions about choosing a program. Finally, it requires an independent consumer evaluator to evaluate their evaluation, which is meta-evaluation. Stakeholders, like program stakeholders, the evaluator and taxpayer would want to know which program is worth their investment. They may ask which alternative program is the best choice based on their desires, costs, and acceptable criteria standards. The methods for consumer-oriented evaluation would include evaluation checklists, goal-free evaluations, experimental designs, quasi-experimental designs, cost analysis, and typical operating procedures. The consumer-oriented approach evaluates a program's merit, worth, and significance. It is usually conducted by an external independent consumer advocate using a set of criteria aligned to key characteristics of the program. Michael Scriven is a pioneer of consumer-oriented evaluations. He is a professor of psychology at Claremont Graduate University and is noted for creating a consumer-focused evaluation checklist. He also coined the terms formative evaluation and summative evaluation. He believes that evaluations involve many disciplines, applied areas of logic, methodologies, and theories. Ralph Nader is also a noted consumer activist that has been instrumental in identifying safety hazards, and especially in the auto industry. When conducting consumer-oriented evaluations to decide which program is better based on a set of criteria, caution is advised when using this evaluation to improve programs and services because consumer-oriented evaluations focus on general information and not detailed information. The strength of consumer-oriented studies is that it provides an immediate snapshot of a portion of a program. It provides consumers with comparative information that can be used to decide which program is best based on merit, worth, and significance. The weakness of consumer-oriented evaluations is that it is used only to compare programs and not to make program improvements. Also, this evaluation is conducted by independent evaluators. Consequently, input stakeholders is very limited, from which would be needed for a summative evaluation. Cost studies and consumer-oriented studies both utilize a criteria to evaluate a program. They also provide an immediate snapshot, and they provide high quality and timely feedback to stakeholders. The most appropriate evaluation approach for RUPAS would be the cost studies. There are no other programs similar to RUPAS, so the consumer-oriented evaluation approach would be unnecessary. The cost studies, specifically a cost-effectiveness ratio, can determine whether the resources that are used in the program produce the desired outcomes. For example, does the children's booklets prepare them for kindergarten? This information can determine whether the resources need to be reallocated or the example in the children's booklets need to be revised. A thorough summative evaluation of the whole RUPAS must be conducted to provide additional information about the successes and challenges of the program and parts of the program.